find anyone in this house to talk to, and I'm full of interesting information. I feel like the latest edition of something or other.
Sir Robert is still at the Foreign Office, my lord.
Lady Chiltern not down yet.
Her ladyship has not yet left her room. Miss Chiltern has just come in from riding.
Oh, well, that is something.
Lord Caversham has been waiting some time in the library for Sir Robert. I have told him your lordship was here.
Thank you. Would you kindly tell him I've gone?
Oh, I shall do so, my lord.
Really? I don't want to meet my father 3 days running. There's a great deal too much excitement for any son. Fathers should be neither seen nor heard.
Well, sir, what are you doing here? Wasting your time as usual, I suppose.
My dear father, when one pays a visit, it is for the purpose of wasting other people's time.
Have you been thinking over what I spoke to you about last night?
I've been thinking about nothing else.
Engaged to be married yet?
Not yet, but I hope to be before lunchtime.
Oh, you can have till dinner time if it would be of any convenience to you.
Thanks awfully, but I think I'd sooner be engaged before lunch.
Never know whether you are being serious or not.
Neither do I, father.
I suppose you have read the Times this morning?
The Times? Certainly not. I only read the Morning Post. All that one should know about modern life is where the duchesses are. Anything else is quite demoralizing.
Do you mean to say that you have not read the Times' leading article on Robert Chiltern's career?
Heavens no. What does it say?
What should it say, sir? Everything complimentary, of course. Chiltern's speech last night on this Argentine canal scheme was one of the finest pieces of oratory ever delivered in the House since Canning.
Ah. Never heard of Kenny. Never wanted to. And did Chiltern uphold the scheme?
Uphold it, sir? How little you know him. Why, he denounced it roundly. This speech is the turning point in Robert Chiltern's career, as the Times points out. You should read this article, sir. Sir Robert Chiltern, brilliant orator, unblemished career, well-known integrity of character, noble contrast to the lax morality so common among foreign politicians. They will never say that about you, sir.
Well, I sincerely hope not, father. However, I am delighted at what you tell me about Robert. Thoroughly delighted. It shows he's got pluck.
He's got more than pluck. He's got genius.
Oh, I prefer pluck. It is not so common as genius is nowadays.
I wish you would go into Parliament.
My dear father, only people who look dull ever get into the House of Commons. Only people who are dull ever succeed there.
Why don't you try to do something useful in life?
I'm far too young.
Ah, I hate this affectation of youth. It is a great deal too prevalent nowadays.
Youth isn't an affectation. Youth is an art.
Why don't you propose to that pretty Miss Chiltern?
I am of a very nervous disposition, especially in the morning.
Well, I don't suppose there is the smallest chance of her accepting you.
I don't know how the betting stands today.
If she did accept you, she would be the prettiest fool in England.
That is just what I should like to marry, father. A thoroughly sensible wife would reduce me to a condition of absolute idiocy in less than 6 months.
You don't deserve her, sir.
My dear father, if we men married the women we deserve, we should have a very bad time of it.
How do you do, Lord Caversham? I hope Lady Caversham is quite well.
Lady Caversham is as usual. As usual.
Good morning, Miss Mabel.
And Lady Caversham's bonnets, are they at all better?
They have had a serious relapse, I'm sorry to say.
Oh, I hope an operation will not be necessary.
If it is, we shall have to give Lady Caversham a narcotic. Otherwise, she would never consent to have a feather touched.
Good morning, Miss Mabel.
Oh, are you here? Of course you understand that after breaking your appointment, I'm never going to speak to you again.
Oh, please don't say such a thing. You're the one person in London I'd really like to have listened to me.
Lord Goring, I never believe a single word that either you or I say to each other.
You are quite right, my dear, quite right. As far as he is concerned, I mean.
Do you think you could possibly make your son behave a little better occasionally, just as a change?
I regret to say, Miss Chiltern, that I have no influence at all over my son. I wish I had. If I had, I know what I should make him do.
Well, it seems to me that I'm a little in the way here.
It is very good for you to be in the way, and to know what people say of you behind your back.
No, I don't like at all knowing what people say of me behind my back. Makes me far too conceited.
After that, my dear, I really must bid you good morning.
Oh, I hope you're not going to leave me all alone with Lord Goring, especially at such an early hour in the day.
I'm afraid I can't take him with me to Downing Street. It is not the Prime Minister's day for seeing the unemployed.
People who don't keep their appointments in the park are horrid.
Oh, detestable.
I'm glad you admit it, but I wish you would not look so pleased about it.
Well, I can't help it. I always look pleased when I'm with you.
And I suppose it is my duty to remain with you?
Of course it is.
Well, my duty is a thing I never do, on principle. It always depresses me, so I'm afraid I must leave you.
No, Miss Mabel, please don't. I have something very particular to say to you.
Oh, is it a proposal?
Why, yes, it is. I'm bound to say it is.
Oh, I'm so glad. That makes the second today.
The second What conceited ass has been impertinent enough to dare to propose to you before I proposed to you?
Toby Trafford, of course. It is one of Tommy's days of proposing. He always proposes on Tuesdays and Thursdays during the season.
But you didn't accept me, I hope.
I make it a rule never to accept Tommy. That is why he goes on proposing. Of course. As you didn't turn up this morning, had very nearly said yes. It would have been an excellent lesson, both for him and for you if it had. It would have taught you both better manners.
Oh, bother. Tommy Trafford is a silly little arse. I love you.
I know. I think you might have mentioned it before. I'm sure I have given you heaps of opportunities.
Mabel, do be serious, please. Be serious.
That is the sort of thing a man always says to a girl before he has been married to her. He never says it afterwards.
Mabel, I have told you that I love you. Can't you love me a little in return?
You silly Arthur, if you knew anything about anything, which you don't, you'd know that I adore you. Everyone in London knows it except you. I have been saying it to London for the past 6 months. What do you consider has anything to say to me?
Oh, dearie. Do you know that I was awfully afraid of being refused?
But I can't imagine anyone refusing you.
Oh, of course, I'm not good enough for you, Mabel.
I'm so glad. I was afraid you were.
And I'm a little over 30.
Dear, you look weeks younger than that.
Well, how sweet of you to say so. It is only fair to tell you quite frankly that I'm fearfully extravagant.
But so am I, Arthur. So we're sure to agree. And I must go see Gertrude.
Oh, must you really?
Yes.
Well, then do tell her that I want to talk to her particularly. I've been waiting here all the morning to see either her or Robert.
Do you mean to say you didn't come here expressly to propose to me?
No. That was a flash of genius.
You're good.
My last.
I'm delighted to hear it. Now don't stir. I'll be back in 5 minutes. And don't fall into any temptations while I'm away.
Dear Mabel, while you are away, there are no temptations. It makes me horribly dependent on you.
Good morning, dear. How pretty you're looking.
How pale you are looking, Gertrude. It's most becoming.
Good morning, Lord Goring.
Good morning, Lady Chiltern.
I shall be in the conservatory, under the second palm tree on the left.
Second on the left.
Yes, the usual palm tree.
Ah, Lady Chiltern, I have a certain amount of very good news to tell you. Mrs. Cheveley gave me up Robert's letter last night, and I burnt it. Robert is safe.
Safe? Oh, I am so glad of that. What a good friend you are to him, to us.
Well, there is only one person now that can be said to be in any danger.
Who is that?
Yourself.
I? In danger? What do you mean?
It is too great a word. It is a word I should not have used, but you wrote me a letter last night in which you said you trusted me and wanted my help. Mrs. Cheveley stole that letter from my rooms.
Well, what use is it to her? Why should she not have it?
I will be quite frank with you, Lady Chiltern. Mrs. Cheveley proposes to put a certain construction on that letter and send it to your husband.
But what construction could she put on it? Oh, not that. If I, in trouble, and wanting your help, trusting you, propose to come to you that you may advise me, assist me,
Cheveley was concealed in a room adjoining my library without my knowledge. I thought that the person waiting to see me in that room was yourself. Robert came in unexpectedly. He forced his way in and he discovered her. We had a terrible scene. He left me in anger. I still thought it was you. At the end of everything, Mrs. Cheveley got possession of your letter. She stole it. When? How? I don't know. But now I propose that we tell Robert the whole thing at once.
You want me to tell Robert that the woman whom you expected last night was not Mrs. Cheveley but myself? That it was I whom you thought was concealed in a room at your house?
I think it is best that he should know the exact truth.
I couldn't.
Well, may I do it?
No.
You're wrong, Lady Chiltern.
No. The letter must be intercepted. How can I do it? Letters arrive for him every moment of the day. His secretaries open them and hand them to him. I dare not ask the servants to bring me his letters. Would be impossible.
Pray, Lady Chiltern, be calm and answer the questions I'm going to put you. You said his secretaries open his letters.
Yes.
Who is with him today? Mr. Trafford, isn't it?
No, Mr. Montford, I think.
Can you trust him?
How do I know?
He would do what you asked of him, wouldn't he?
I suppose so.
Your letter was written on pink notepaper. He could recognize it without reading it, couldn't he, by the color?
I think so.
Is he in the house now?
Yes.
Then I will go and see him myself and tell him that a certain letter written on pink notepaper is to be forwarded to Robert today, and that at all costs it must not reach him. Oh, Robert's coming upstairs with the letter in his hand.
Don't you? I trust you. I'm coming to you. Gertrude. Oh, my love. Is this true? Do you indeed trust me and want me? It's for me to come to you, not for you to write it coming to me. This letter of yours, Gertrude, makes me feel that nothing that the world may do can hurt me now. You want me, Gertrude?
Yes. Yes.
Why did you not add you loved me?
Because I loved you.
You don't know what I feel. When Montfort passed me your letter across the table and I read it, I didn't care what punishment or disgrace was in store for me. I only thought you loved me still.
There is no disgrace in store for you, nor any public shame. Mrs. Cheveley has handed over to Lord Goring the document that was in her possession, and he has destroyed it.
Then I'm safe. Oh, what a wonderful thing to be safe! For 2 days I've been in terror. Is Arthur still here?
Yes, he's in the conservatory.
I'm so glad now that I made that speech last night in the house. So glad. I made it thinking that public disgrace might be the result. But it hasn't been so.
Public honor has been the result.
I think so. I fear so almost. Although I'm safe from detection, although every proof against me is destroyed, well, I suppose, Gertrude, I suppose I should retire from public life.
Yes, Robert, you should do that. It is your duty to do that.
It is much to surrender.
No, it will be much to gain.
And you would be happy living alone with me, abroad perhaps, or away from London, or in the country, away from public life. You would have no regrets.
Oh, none, Robert.
Arthur, I have to thank you for what you have done for me. I don't know how I can repay you.
My dear Robert, I'll come to you at once. At the present moment, under the usual palm tree. I mean, in the conservatory.
Lord Caversham!
Good morning.
Lady Chiltern.
Warmest congratulations to you, Chiltern, on your brilliant speech last night. I have just left the Prime Minister, and you are to have the vacant seat in the cabinet.
A seat in the cabinet.
Yes. Here is the Prime Minister's letter.
A seat in the cabinet.
Certainly, sir. And you well deserve it, too. You have got what we want so much in political life nowadays. High moral tone, high character, high principles. Everything that you have not got, sir.
Well, I don't like principles rules, father. I much prefer prejudices.
I'm afraid I can't accept this offer, Lord Caversham. I've made up my mind to decline it.
Decline it, sir.
My intention is to retire at once from public life.
Decline a seat in the cabinet and retire from public life. Never heard such damn nonsense in the whole course of my existence. Children, don't grin like that, sir.
No, father.
Lady Chiltern, you are a very sensible woman. The most sensible woman in London. The most sensible woman I know. Trying to prevent your husband from making such from talking such. Will you kindly do that, Lady Chiltern?
I think my husband is right in his determination, Lord Caversham. I approve of it.
You approve of it? Good heavens!
I admire him immensely for it. I have never admired him so much before. He is finer than even I thought him. You will go and write your letter to the Prime Minister and I want you. Don't hesitate about it, Robert.
I suppose I'd better write it at once. Such offers are not repeated. I will ask you to excuse me for a moment, Lord Caversham.
I may come with you, Robert, may I not?
Yes, Gertrude.
What is the matter with the family? Something wrong here, eh? Idiocy? Hereditary, I suppose, both of them too. Very sad. Very sad indeed. Can't understand it.
It is not idiocy, father, I assure you.
What is it then, sir?
Well, it is simply what is known nowadays as a high moral tone, that is all.
Hate these newfangled names. Same thing as we used to call idiocy 50 years ago. Shan't stay in this house any longer.
Come in here for a moment, father. Second pantry on the left, the usual pantry.
What, sir?
Oh, I beg your pardon. I mean in the conservatory, father. There is someone there I want you to talk to.
What about, sir?
About me, father.
Oh, not a subject on which much eloquence is possible.
Lady Chiltern, why are you playing Mrs. Cheveley's cards?
I don't understand you.
Mrs. Cheveley made an attempt to ruin your husband, either to drive him from public life or to force him to adopt a dishonorable position. From the latter tragedy you saved him, the former you are now thrusting upon him. Why should you do him the wrong Mrs. Cheveley tried to do and fail?
Lord Goring.
Lady Chiltern, allow me. You wrote me a letter last night in which you said you trusted me and you wanted my help. Well, now is the time in which you have got to trust me in my counsel and judgment. You love Robert. You want to kill his love for you. What sort of existence will he have if you take from him the splendor of a great and noble political career? He was made for triumph and success. Take my advice, Lady Chiltern. Do not make this mistake.
But it is my husband himself who wishes to retire from public life. He feels it is his duty. It was he who first said so.
Rather than lose your love, Robert would do anything. Wreck his whole career as he's on the brink of doing now. Failure to Robert would be the very mire of shame. Power is his passion. Without it, he would lose everything. Even his power to feel love. Your husband's life is at this moment in your hands, Lady Chiltern. Your husband's love is in your hands. Don't mark both for him.
Gertrude, here is the draft of my letter. Shall I read it to you?
Let me see it.
What are you doing?
I have just learned this, and much else with it from Lord Goring. I will not spoil your life for you, nor see you spoil it as a sacrifice to me. A useless sacrifice.
Gertrude. Gertrude.
You can forget. Men easily forget. And I forgive. That is how women have the world. I see that now.
My wife. Arthur! Arthur! It seems I'm forever to be no debt.
Oh! Do you know, Robert? Your debt is to Lady Chiltern, not to me.
I owe you much. And now tell me what you were going to ask me just now as Lord Caversham came in.
Robert, you are your sister's guardian, and I want your consent to my marriage to her. That is all.
I am so glad.
Thank you, Lady Chiltern.
my sister to be your wife?
Yes.
Arthur, I'm very sorry, but the thing is quite out of the question. I have to think of Mabel's future happiness, and I don't think her happiness would be safe in your hands. And I cannot have a sacrifice.
Sacrificed! But I love Mabel. No other woman has any place in my life.
Robert, if they love each other, why should they not be married?
Arthur cannot bring Mabel the love that she deserves.
What reason have you for saying that?
When I called on you yesterday evening, I found Mrs. Cheveley concealed in one of your rooms. I do not wish to say anything more. Your relations with Mrs. Cheveley have nothing whatsoever to do with me. I know you were engaged to be married to her once, and the fascination she exercised over you then seems to have returned. You spoke to me of her as a woman pure and stainless, a woman who was respected and honored. That may be so, but I cannot give my sister's life into your hands. It would be wrong of me, unjust, infamously unjust to her.
I have nothing more to say.
Robert, it was not Mrs. Cheveley whom Lord Goring expected last night.
Not Mrs. Cheveley, who was it then?
Chiltern!
It was your own wife. Yesterday afternoon, Lord Goring told me that if ever I was in trouble, I could come to him for help, as he was our oldest and best friend. Later on, after that terrible scene in this room, I wrote to him, telling him that I trusted him, that I needed him, and that I was coming to him for help and advice. Yes, that letter. I didn't go to Lord Goring's after all. I felt that it is from ourselves alone that help can come. Pride made me think that. Mrs. Cheveley went. She stole my letter and sent it anonymously to you this morning. You should think. I cannot tell you what she wished you to think.
What? Had I fallen so low in your eyes that you thought that even for a moment I could have doubted your goodness? Gertrude, you are to me the white image of all good things, and sin can never touch you. Arthur, you can go to Mabel, and you have my best wishes. There's no name at the beginning of this letter. The brilliant Mrs. Cheveley doesn't seem to have realized that. There should be a name.
Let me write yours. It is you I trust in me. You and none else.
Well, really, Lady Chiltern, I think I should have that my own letter.
No, you shall have Mabel.
I hope she hasn't changed her mind. It's been nearly 20 minutes since I saw her last.
Lord Goring, your father's conversation's much more improving than yours. I'm going to talk to Lord Caversham in the future, and always under the usual palm tree.
Darling.
What does this mean, sir? You don't mean to say that this charming, clever young lady has been so foolish as to accept you?
Well, certainly, father. And Chiltern has been wise enough to accept a seat in the cabinet.
I'm glad to hear that, Chiltern. I congratulate you, sir. If this country doesn't go to the dogs or the radicals, we shall have you Prime Minister someday.
Luncheon is on the table, my lady.
You'll stop to luncheon, Lord Caversham, won't you?
With pleasure. I'll drive you down to Downing Street afterwards. You have a great future before you. A great future. Wish I could say the same for you, sir. But your career will have to be entirely domestic.
Yes, father. I prefer it domestic.
And if you don't make this young lady an ideal husband, I'll cut you off with a shilling.
An ideal husband? I don't think I should like that very much. Sounds like something in the next world.
What do you want him to be then, dear?
He can be what he chooses. All I want is to be a real wife to him.
Upon my word, there is a great deal of common sense in that. Lady Chiltern.
Aren't you coming in, Robert?
Gertrude. Is it love feel for me, or is it pity merely? Alors, de la part de toute la distribution, j'aimerais vous remercier du fond du cœur d'être venu nous soutenir ce soir. De la part de toute l'équipe, j'aimerais souligner et inviter à venir sur scène quelques personnes sans qui cette pièce n'aurait pu se faire. Alors, j'invite immédiatement notre merveilleux metteur en scène, M. Corey Castle. On aimerait souligner le travail exceptionnel de notre équipe technique, donc Sarah.
Madame Dubois.
Madame Dubois. Magnifique aventure, merci beaucoup.